Alright, today is more of a relaxed talking video. I asked you guys on Instagram to ask me anything, and today I will just answer some of those questions. So yeah, let's get straight in. Okay, since most people asked me about my programming and how I train, I decided to just start with this. So if we first look at the big picture and the whole year, I never take time off. I don't take time off after a big competition or after many months of training. I basically train the whole year through. I also don't do like GPP seasons or something like that. I snatch, clean and jerk, squat and pull the whole year. There are basically two separate training styles I do throughout the year. 80 to 90% of the time I do my normal training. There I have some variations or in rep ranges, so I may do triples in the squat, but maybe also 5s and 8s, maybe even 10s. In the Olympic lifts, I sprinkle in some variations, also some doubles and triples. And the other training style is for bigger competitions, or when I just want to push myself exclusively for Olympic weightlifting and get there in the best possible shape. So a peaking training block where the intensity is very high and I only do the classic lift, so snatch and clean and jerk, almost no variations, and also the squats are only in the 1, 2 or 3 rep range. But one thing both of these training styles have in common is that I do many sets in both of them. I also always start the training block with X amount of sets and then I add more sets every week. So for example, maybe I start the training block with 16 total sets of squats and end the training block with 23 sets of squats. So the way I plan volume and intensity is not as traditionally a X where the volume gets lower and the intensity goes high. It's more such a shape. Everything goes just up. The most important thing for me is just getting my squat up and doing the lifts. For the squat, I try to stay in the RPE range of 6 to 9. I want to collect as many challenging enough sets as possible without going to failure and potentially killing the momentum of a training block. So usually I train 6 weeks and then I take 1 week for a deload week. But this also depends. For example, a couple of weeks ago I was sick for an entire week and I really feel how my work capacity dropped significantly and how I have now 3 full weeks of training and it's the beginning of the 4th week and I'm already overreaching. So I will end this training week and then I take a deload week. So I also have to see in what kind of shape I'm in. Also like stress from work or other stuff may affect my ability to push an entire 6 weeks of training without a deload. But yeah, in between 4 to 6 weeks is the sweet spot for me. I used to hate deload weeks, but since I'm such a high volume enjoyer and I'm so incredibly fatigued, I always welcome a deload week with open arms. And of course, I'm always feeling so much stronger after that. So this is the momentum I'm trying to drive through the whole year. And if we now look at a typical week of this normal training, it would be Monday, Wednesday and Friday are very long weightlifting and squat days. So it's always a snatch or a variation, a clean and jerk or a variation, front or back squats and maybe some pulls. And on Tuesday and Saturday I also do squats, but then I do some upper body strength and hypertrophy training. So usually stuff like overhead press, pull-ups, rows, dips, maybe some arms. I also have a friend who's a physiotherapist, and I will probably talk about him in a minute again. But like he's also with the recent strength training studies, always on top of the game. And we talk so much about programming, and he also helped me a ton to understand strength training. But yeah, right now I just enjoy to program for myself, and yeah. And you could ask the question, is this training the ideal training? I don't know, but what I do know is that this kind of training fires me up. It doesn't fire me up to take 8 weeks off of training, then do a GPP phase, and then do a hypertrophy block with leg extensions and leg curls, and eventually start again with snatch and clean and jerk. I just want to always be in a good shape for snatch and clean and jerk. Of course, in my normal training block, it always gets a hit from these higher repetition squats and everything. But I like to go through that and just snatch, clean and jerk, squat and pull the whole year. And I think for me, the amount of thousands of repetitions I'm collecting throughout the year in the lifts, made my technique what it is today. It's not perfect, but I can very good rely on it. And are you planning to do a best XY lifts after each lifetime goal? Yeah, that's the plan. I will try to make for the snatch and clean and jerk video to not only include Sinclair lifts, like the best Sinclair snatches and clean and jerks, also maybe the fastest or the most clutch competition lifts and so on. But yeah, I'm looking forward to do these videos. It's a lot of fun, and yeah, I will do it. Why the name Sleepy Lifts? Okay. So when I was in school, and like my whole life, people said to me I have a very weird voice. I think it has gotten better ever since, but I am still a little insecure about it, because like even teachers would tell me like, hey, are you high? Are you drunk? So at first I called the YouTube channel just my first name, Niklas. And then, it's a bit cheesy, but I was watching with my girlfriend Game of Thrones for the 4th time or something. And the first time when Tyrion meets Jon Snow, he calls him bastard. And then he says to him,
"Let me give you some advice, bastard. Never forget what you are. The rest of the world will not. Wear it like armor, and it can never be used to hurt you."
And at that moment I thought I need to find a name for my YouTube channel where nobody can comment, "Oh, you speak so slow, so sleepy." And then I thought maybe I just call it Sleepy Lifts, and I also thought it sounds kind of cool. It fits to me, and this is why it's called Sleepy Lifts. Will you co-op with other weightlifters like Dozer, etc.? Yeah, I think maybe in the distant future with some people. I think with Dozer in particular, it would be probably very difficult since I'm in Germany, and I'm also, I don't know if a lot of other weightlifting creators know of my existence because I'm not that big. But some weightlifting creators actually reached out to me and were very nice, gave me props, and maybe with some of them I will make like online collaborations, or who knows what happens in the future. What is the worst injury you have had to face, and what was it like to overcome it? Okay, here comes again my friend, the physiotherapist, in play. He helped me a ton to not get so panicked about injuries, and that when something is maybe a little bit annoying in the knee or something, it's not always a reason to panic. Like for example, I had in my patella tendon in the knee, I had some pain from just the tons of squatting that I'm doing. And I was doing all of my sets like with sleeves, with the belt and with the bounce. And I developed this pain, and he said, okay, either you are dropping the volume and see if it gets better, like for, I think he said 20 to 25% of reduction in volume, I'm not sure. And then he said, or you take away the sleeves, the belt, and do all of your normal straight back off sets with a pause. And by the way, he didn't say leave the sleeves out because it does something magical to your knees. It was just to reduce the overall load. And so I did, of course, that and not the dropping in volume. And my knee pain completely went away. And this is something like he taught me to work around these injuries without like not ignoring them and just pushing through it, but finding ways to keep on training without completely resting it. And yeah, this helped me a ton. Did you play any sports as a kid? So as a kid, I didn't really have the drive for any sport like I have now. My mother has a dance school, so I did some break dancing, but it was only like once per week for 1 hour. So I didn't really get good there. And then I was a goalkeeper in football, or I think you Americans call it soccer. Yeah, I was a goalkeeper there, but also not that good. And there was also a question when I started to train and when I started weightlifting, so I'm just gonna say it here. Like normal strength training was the first sport that I was really passionate about. So the typical bodybuilding, being a 14-year-old, so with 14 I joined a gym and then, you know, hitting some chest and biceps, but there I was the first time really passionate about. And then at the age of 16 I found weightlifting on YouTube through Clarence Kennedy and so on, and I immediately fell in love. I think I had to work for my mom, and then she bought me a barbell and some bumper plates, and then I tried to learn it like in our basement. And because the nearest weightlifting club was 90 minutes away, and I thought I'm not stupid to drive every day 90 minutes there and 90 minutes again home. And I was also in a full day school. So I thought I'm not this stupid. And then I went to a CrossFit gym and tried to learn weightlifting there. And eventually I was this stupid and actually drove 5 times per week, 90 minutes to the weightlifting club and 90 minutes home. And this was a crazy time. I was always falling asleep in the train and so on. But yeah, I think it was like for weightlifting it was worth it because my coach there really hammered the technique in me, and it's something I'm still benefiting now. What numbers do you think are possible for you? So right now I have the eyes on the lifetime goals that I wrote down, and yeah, I will be very pumped if I actually check off all of them. But I was recently again training with the physiotherapist friend and I was doing snatch pulls with 150, and I told him like, man, it would be so nice to snatch this off blocks in this lifetime. And then he said, I don't really know why you wouldn't be snatching 170 off the blocks if you just train the next 6 years like you did the last 3 years. And I think this is bullshit. But I did thought a lot about it and thought, hey, maybe I can extend it even beyond that. But for now, I just want to do the 140, 170. This would be so much more than I ever thought I could do in this sport. And then we will see. Only one way to find out, I guess. Would you ever consider taking PEDs? Okay, so This is something where I can wholeheartedly say that I never thought about it. And the reason is not because I'm morally so superior or anything. It's just that for me, this whole strength journey was always to find out what I can do with my leverages, with my body, with my time in the gym, and also with the hormones that I have in my body. So it's very uninteresting for me to see more weight on the bar because I'm taking steroids, because we just talked about my lifetime goals. And of course, I wouldn't feel the same joy when I now snatch 140 and clean and jerk 170 when I'm now starting to take drugs and achieve it. Because then I would just think, oh, well, now I'm taking steroids. I mean, now it has to become 155, 190 or something like that. So I think the goals just start to shift upwards when you start taking drugs. And it's illegal and it's unhealthy. And also it creates another adjustment screw next to volume, intensity, sleep, and nutrition, where I think you could fall in the trap of thinking, oh, I'm plateauing right now, maybe I just up the dosage. So yeah, I'm almost 1000% that I will never take anything, which doesn't mean that I have anything against people who take it. And of course, I also, I love to see when the best of the best pipe weights. So I'm not naive or anything. I'm not a hater, but for myself, it's just out of the question. So the last question is, when did you graduate and what is your full-time commitment at the moment? And someone else also asked why I started the YouTube channel, and everything here is interconnected. So I'm just gonna tell a little story. Okay, so when I finished the normal school, like high school, I only really had a passion for weightlifting, and I mean, this was going nowhere with me. I was so far away of being a professional athlete. And then through a coincidence, I signed up to a little film school. And after a couple of weeks there, I was so hooked, and it was really the second big passion of my life, this whole filmmaking thing. We had to do per semester one big film project, and each of these film projects was like a weightlifting comp for me, where I always wanted to PR. So essentially progressive overload in filmmaking. And I was buying online courses, I was listening to podcasts, watching the whole YouTube filmmaking genre. I also started to make freelance jobs for smaller businesses. With that money, I was buying more equipment. I was renting high-level equipment for these bigger film projects, and I was really pushing it. And I thought I was on the right track to maybe work as a cinematographer, working on big sets for Mercedes and Porsche. But honestly, what I started in film school became what I really wanted to do entire film projects by myself or with a small crew and not being part of a big film set. And now I pay my bills by doing corporate videos, music videos, recruiting campaigns, here and there a little commercial and stuff like that. In general, the life was pretty sweet. I was self-employed, I had a lot of flexibility to go very hard in my training, and I did the biggest progress in my life in this sport. But I realized that like after 1.5 years, I didn't really produce any film or video where I was like hyped than I did back in film school, where I really did it for myself and not for a client. And it was actually my brother who suggested that I just start a YouTube channel, which was completely absurd for me because being in front of the camera wasn't something I wanted to do, But as I thought about it, I realized, hey, this could really be a passion project to just start creating again when you have time. Probably like expect that no one will watch it because it's such a small niche. You are also in this little niche, not covering the elite athletes like Weightlifting House, who of course do such a great job. You are also not a elite athlete yourself like Gabriel Sincrain or something, and you're also not a strength coach like the Sika Strength boys. And I'm so happy that I started this YouTube channel. It's so cool for me that I now have a place where I can just do the ideas that I have in my head, which could be video essays, typical YouTube videos, maybe even documentaries, and so on. And the best part about all of this is the community that has grown in the last year. I didn't really expect that in this small niche there would be so many people watching this stuff, and also the amount of love that I'm receiving in the comment section is something that I have rarely seen ever in my life on social media, to be honest. I mean, social media can be such a toxic place, and reading your guys' comments, and some of you guys are commenting on every single video, which is just so nice to see from all over the world, that it really motivates me to just keep doing. And yeah, we will see where this whole journey is going, and I will see you in the next video.